Hey, I'm Sam Topman here with Tim McKnight and the Global Center for Youth Ministry. This is our inaugural video for 2020.
2020.
Right? We've recorded things. We just got back from Conclave conference in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Got some good food, got some good talks. Had some good seminars. We might ought to bring our seminar into this. And just do one of those for a podcast. But we'll definitely be having those come up in the weeks to come.
Right.
So if you see some videos, there got a lot of noise in the background. There's a lot of things going on in the background.
Good interviews.
Yep.
Good folks there. Good conference.
I'm excited.
Always a pleasure to be there.
That's right. We might even have some of our students jump in. I'm not sure what we'll do.
We interviewed some of them. So
it sounds pretty good. But today we're going to be talking about conflict and dealing with difficult people.
Never happens in the church.
Yeah. And I've got some things I want to deal with Tim, some grievances I want to.
We're having an airing of grievances.
No, we won't do that here. We're good, but I don't know about you, but we've had difficult dealings in the church, and there's always that one person that you want to talk to. We're going to name her Janet. And she knows who she is, but there's no Janet.
You might have to change the name.
We weren't supposed to use real names. Sorry, not Janet. No, we're just gonna call that. But there's always those people in our lives that are just maybe hard to deal with,
right?
And we're so easy to deal with. It's got to be
all the time.
It's got to be their fault. So I think you've got some good points today. To help out youth ministers.
I think one of the first things when you have someone coming up to you with conflict or criticism or something like that is make sure that you're listening.
Yep.
And not formulating in your mind what you're going to say before they're done saying, what they're saying.
Right.
So engage them, give them the benefit of the doubt in listening to them.
Right.
And then as you're listening to them, second thing is ask yourself, is there anything valid in what they're saying? And in both of those cases, you're probably going to have to make sure you're not getting angry or defensive.
Sure.
Because that's going to keep you really from listening to that person. And
I think, too, this person's likely been stewing on this for a while, so they're likely going to do a dump on you,
Yeah.
And you need to be ready for that. It may be a lot seem to come at you, and you may not even be aware that there was an issue.
Right.
But just understand that they have a lot on their mind. They're ready to share.
Yeah. They've had some time to think about it, and you haven't, right?
And you may be caught totally off guard, and I think it would be real easy to get defensive, and try to make excuses or deflect or whatever it is.
Yep. And another side of it, you could just admit it and say, even if you're not at fault.
Right.
And that's not a good response either. But the person, like you said, has had some time, to think about it. And I really appreciate the person that comes to me rather than the person that is going to talk to someone else, or
just
toxic. So I actually appreciate when people come to me with criticism or, some constructive input.
Right.
So I want to make sure that I listen to them.
Right.
I want to make sure that I'm not getting angry, that I'm processing what they're saying and asking myself, is there anything valid there?
Sure.
I want to really speak back to them what I think they've said.
Right.
Because I don't want to misinterpret or misperceive.
Right. It's that active listening.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So I want to kind of talk back to them after that and say, here's what I think you've communicated to me. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And at the same time, I want to let them know I appreciate them coming to me and talking to me about that.
Yeah.
And, I might even want to have prayer with them at the end.
Right.
And, just it's hard to really be in disagreement or hostile towards someone that you're praying with. And so I really want to have prayer with them at the end and say, lift it to the Lord and say, this person's come with this, and, God, we want your will to be done in this, and, help me to have wisdom. And so they can see that I'm humble and, trying to really seek the Lord's wisdom in it. So those are just a few things that I would do.
Everything I've read, and I actually, when I was first going into college, those kind of things, I thought I was going to be a Christian counselor. So, you take all the minor in psychology and all that kind of stuff, and everything I remember was to try to repeat back to them about 2 or 3 times what their problem is, and that in itself kind of diffuses the situation. I know there's going to be times when maybe they're coming to you right before you're about to go out to speak, right? And I've had that many times. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, hey, I'm about to do this. I would really love to talk to you. Can we do this a little bit later? Right. When we can both deal with
you've got to be okay with that too.
Right.
Because your personality or my personality might be that it's going to be in the back of my mind as I'm speaking.
Yes.
So we've got to kind of set up that margin that God's bigger than whatever this person wants to communicate to me. And God's big enough to handle the situation.
Sure.
He's called me to preach or to give this Bible study or whatever it is that I'm doing.
Right.
So it's not going to hurt for this to wait. I didn't know about it before they came to me, and I was fine.
Right.
So now that I know about it, I'm still fine.
Right.
So part of it's on us too is to
just knowing God's in control. Right. And that He's going to work this out, and that He's already worked it out.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
and I think you just have to be able to trust in that.
Yep.
So often when I've dealt with difficult people, somebody's hurting, like whether it's a child that's been hurt or, it may not even be your fault, but you're the leader. So people come to you.
Yep.
It's so, or the parent's been hurt in some way. And so, just understanding that sometimes helps us to know it's not necessarily about me. It's about this hurt, and that's what needs to be addressed.
Yeah, that's a good word, because that changes how we respond.
Right.
If we know they're acting out of pain.
Right.
Even if they're angry.
Yeah.
Their anger's coming from pain. That's a good word.
One of the things I used to do, at one of my last churches, I prayer walked, and so for me, a lot of the conflict and challenges and objectives were kind of in my office, at least mentally.
Right.
And so for me to kind of get out of the office and walk around the church campus there and pray for those people specifically, God, I've got this problem here. For whatever reason, we have a personality conflict or whatever it is. Work in this, and what I found, even if it didn't change then, which sometimes it didn't, it changed how I approached things.
Yep. We've got to shepherd the wolves as well as the sheep.
Right.
And so, and then the other thing, you brought something up with personality.
Yeah.
Some people may just not like me.
Right.
Because of personality conflict, and that's not.
And this is what I wanted to bring up between us.
Yeah, Sam wanted.
No.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Because some personalities just don't jive so well.
Right.
And so I've got to be okay with not everybody's going to, just be, buddies with me or, really like me well, and that type of thing. That there may be a personality conflict.
Sure.
That really is nothing personal.
Right.
It's just we've got different personalities, and it's harder to understand each other, but still with the body of Christ and with the love of Christ and with the hope of the gospel and the grace of the gospel, I can still be gracious.
Yeah.
And they can still be gracious. So, kind of working through personality differences. But that's the other thing I would say is in ministry, we want everyone to like us.
Yeah.
That's just an unrealistic expectation.
Right.
Because personalities themselves are going to cause some conflict.
What? And I'm just shooting off the cuff here, so this might be bad video, but what if you acknowledged your weakness?
Right.
So there's some kind of frustration that this parent has, that you acknowledge that and ask for their help in helping you overcome those weaknesses.
Yeah.
So that you're actually kind of giving them, a position, really.
Yeah, I think that that's good as long as we don't use that as a cop-out.
Right.
So it's like if every time we have a conflict, I'm talking about how I'm weak in this area.
Yeah. And not really addressing it.
Yeah, part of me as a parent or as a leader, I'd be like, well, then maybe you need to step up and address that area, that blind spot, and so so I think it's good if we're transparent in that way, because all of us have strengths and weaknesses, and personalities, impact strengths and weaknesses. If we take like the DISC, inventory or whatever, like I'm a Spike D, so I know one weakness I have is, man, I could just steamroll.
Right.
And that's not good,
right?
Because that's not humble, that's not service oriented, so I've got to watch that in myself, that I'm not like kind of pushing and driving,
right?
And trying to be more patient.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's okay for me to tell people, hey, I'm a spike D or whatever,
right.
or I might not use the terminology,
right.
but but kind of relating to them that way. At the same time, though, they need to see that I'm trying to address it,
sure.
rather than just saying, hey, help me fix my problem.
Right. We'll wrap it up there, but I think we've kind of dealt with some things. We're always going to have conflict.
Yeah.
I would say you need to get rest, too, just as a physical need. If you're tired and exhausted and just worn out, you're not going to handle conflict.
I get hangry.
Or hungry, So you're just not going to deal with conflict well. So make sure that you're taking care, that you have good mental health and physical health, so that you can address these challenges when they come. So I hope this helped you out. We would love to hear from you. You can comment below or send us a text. We're on or send us a text. Listen to that. You can tweet us. We're on Instagram. We're on all these different things. We're about to have a podcast. We're actually going to take some of these videos that we have and make that a podcast on Spotify. So you can go on Spotify and search Global CYM and listen. We have one podcast on there right now, but we will be getting a lot more on there as well. So if you're like to listen to podcasts rather than videos, that might be a great thing for you and a great resource there. So we thank you for listening and watching us today, and we look forward to coming back to you.